people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. An article that reads, as Liverpool fans, Natasha Jonas sets out, aim of bringing a big night of boxing to Enfield.
Natasha had a big 2022. Will she have a big 2023?
Natasha Jonas hopes boxer chief Ben Shalom can pull something massive out of the bag and deliver her a dream night at Enfield. 2022 was truly the year of women's boxing, with Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron, and Clarissa Shields all shining on the biggest stages. But it was Jonas who shone the brightest. The 38-year-old claimed 3 world titles in 10 months last year to unify the super welterweight division. Now she has her sights set on a mega night of boxing at Enfield. I think between me, Liam, Adam Azim, as Liverpool fans, we all look for that big dream one at your club, she said. Adam Azim, he's stepping up. They want him to move fast. He's another huge Liverpool supporter. I'm a Liverpool supporter. You've got the likes of Patty Lacey, who sold over 500 tickets last time at the Echo. Another fan, another local Liverpool lad. All of us on a card. There's a big night boxing. Hopefully Ben Shalom, their promoter, can pull something massive out for everybody, and we can all enjoy a stadium fight and a big fight as well.
To what fight is Natasha Jonas referring to?
If I could headline at Anfield, I don't care. I just want to be on it. Headlining shows doesn't mean everything to me. If I'm honest, I'd rather be involved in the big fights. Shields looked spectacular when beating Savannah Marshall in October to become the undisputed middleweight champion. But despite her impressive display, Jonas would love a crack at her in the coming months.
This is not the first time we've heard this subject broached. The subject of Shields versus Jonas.
This is not the first time we've heard Natasha Jonas express an interest in a fight that I've no doubts she would lose. And I'm a big Natasha Jonas fan. I'm a big Natasha Jonas supporter. But she don't win that fight with Clarissa. From where I'm sitting, it's rather foolhardy to...
You've come this far. You got 3 of the 4 major alphabet titles in the junior middleweight division. Why not unify with Terry? Why not run it back?
I maintain my original position. It makes a lot more sense to take on the only other champion at this weight, your old buddy Terry Harper, in what is a more winnable fight than a Clarissa Shields fight. You don't beat Clarissa Shields.
It's not a winnable fight.
I have to be honest. Shields is a much younger fighter than Natasha Jonas. I'd wager she's faster and stronger. And even though Clarissa Shields isn't known as a knockout puncher, she might very well knock out Natasha Jonas, who's been stopped at least once before down there at 130 pounds by Vivian Obanoff. Given Shields' size and speed and her skills, she might very well stop Natasha Jonas in Enfield. Is that the kind of homecoming fight she wants?
That's what she wants to bring to the hometown fans?
I mean, seriously. There are winnable fights, much more winnable fights out there for the unified junior middleweight champion than a Clarissa Shields fight. I don't know what she's thinking.
It's a suicide mission.
It's the easiest offer to make. It's an easy offer that can be done. That's probably the easiest one to make, she told Sky Sports. I've got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose? What about all your progress and the 3 alphabet titles you just unified? What do you mean you ain't got nothing to lose?
It's gotta be the money. It's gotta be the money for a Shields fight. The people over there at Sky and Boxer must be willing to pay her generously to take on somebody like Clarissa Shields, perhaps more than they're willing to pay her to take on Terry Harper. That's gotta be it. It's gotta be the money.
Tack on not giving Terry Harper and Steffi Bull the satisfaction and the rift between the two teams. Maybe this is Natasha Jonas's way of sticking it to Terry Harper.
Well, not so much Terry, but Steffi. When I spoke to Natasha Jonas last year and I asked her about it, I got the distinct impression that it's really Steffi Bull that was rubbing her the wrong way, and maybe this is her way of sticking it to him.
Not pursuing the rematch with Terry. Maybe that's Natasha's way of sticking it to him.
By letting Clarissa Shields stick it to her. I'm sorry. Natasha Jonas is a great fighter. She's excellent, but she don't win that fight with Clarissa. She ain't got No shot!
She might get knocked out.
She has been there before. I've gone up in weight and down in weight, and going down to your lowest is always a struggle. But I think with someone who's experienced as Clarissa, as confident as Clarissa, I don't think that'll be an issue. I'd love to be as active as I have been. I just want to be active and competing against the best. And in 2022, I did that.
Fighting off more than you can chew, that's what you're doing.
I'd love for it to be 3 title fights again, and have 6 title fights on the spin, and why not?
Clarissa Shields herself, in reference to a Savannah Marshall fight, stated quite plainly that she'd want that rematch to happen in America, but would she be open to returning to the United Kingdom for Natasha Jonas instead?
Seems a little bit asinine that you won't do one fight unless it's in America, but you'd be open to traveling for the other. Would she concede home field advantage to Natasha?
For the right price, she might. It's not like she needs it anyway. She's a lot bigger than Natasha, younger, faster, stronger.
I said it before and I'll say it again. I don't like this fight for Natasha. It's suicide.
It's a suicide mission.
And if they're really serious about pursuing it, the only inference I can make is that Natasha Jonas is ready to cash out.
It's gotta be it. She doesn't look it, but she is 38 years old, close to 40.
Maybe Natasha wants the Clarissa Shields fight to be her swan song, because if it goes sideways...
Could be a long road back to the titles.
In other news, according to Fight Hub TV, it looks like we'll get Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury on Saturday, February 25th this year.
Jake Paul made headlines a little over a week ago for crossing over from the Showtime side of things over to the PFL League, whose broadcast partner just so happens to be ESPN. I can only assume that this fight with Tommy will go down in the United Kingdom. 2 failed attempts. 2 separate attempts to do the Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight in the past. The fight seemed cursed. I think the first time Tommy said something about having a chest infection, and the second time he was turned away. He was not allowed to enter into the United States, and now... Why wasn't he allowed to enter into the United States?
Likely for the reason his bigger, more famous brother, Tyson Fury, was not allowed to enter into the United States. Rumor has it there's a banned list of approximately 600 individuals with tenuous associations to suspected crime boss Daniel Kinahan who are not allowed to enter into the country.
Widespread speculation suggests that not only Tyson Fury, but his younger brother Tommy, and anybody who had anything to do with the now defunct MTK Global, their names are on that list.
That's the rumor. This Tommy Fury fight, if it actually goes down, will be Jake Paul's first fight since having crossed over to the PFL,
who he's reported to have signed a multi-year deal with. This is the rival company to Dana White's UFC.
Given the barbs traded between Jake Paul and Dana White the last 2 or 3 years or so, it's only right that Jake Paul jump into bed with the PFL, and now he owns an equity share in the company.
And is starting a new super fight division. He's planning 1 boxing match and 1 MMA fight this year.
I can only assume that Jake Paul's going to have to get his passport out in order to do this Tommy Fury fight. Perhaps the fight will happen in the United Kingdom on the Queensberry Promotions side of things, and here in America, it will be broadcasted by way of ESPN, who also just so happens to broadcast PFL League, PFL fights.
And the dichotomy between the fighters hasn't changed, you know. Jake Paul, he so obviously is the social media influencer turned boxer, and Tommy Fury, he's intended to be the more serious pugilist, the more serious prize fighter who comes from the Fighting Furies, his fighting family.
I want to say that Jake Paul's relationship, where he has been fighting his last couple of fights, it wasn't a fruitful relationship. In fact, I think his tenure on that particular platform hurt his brand, hurt his progress. His name was buzzing a lot more when he was fighting on Triller than when he crossed over to Showtime.
If you can believe that.
The viral knockouts of both Nate Robinson and Ben Askren
got a lot of people's attention with those knockouts, for better or worse.
And he had at least 1 viral knockout on the Showtime platform opposite the ring, Tyrone Woodley. But lest we forget, Tyrone Woodley was a stand-in, and lest we forget, Tyrone Woodley...
That was the second Tyrone Woodley fight, not the first. The second fight was said to have been a box office flop.
It was said to have underperformed. Tyrone Woodley, if my memory serves me, was actually standing in for Tommy Fury.
Tommy Fury, who Jake Paul's supposed to be fighting late next month, and we'll see if that finally gets over the line.
You have to remember, he was supposed to fight Tommy Fury, and the first time out, Tommy Fury said something about coming down with a chest infection. The second time out, he said he was turned away at the airport. He wasn't allowed to enter into the United States, and that's where Hasim Rahman Jr. came into it.
I mean, some effort has gone into getting Jake Paul in the ring with what's supposed to be a serious pugilist, a serious prize fighter, a full-time fighter.
You remember what happened with Hasim Rahman Jr.? There was a weight debacle. He blew the weight or something about not being able to make it on time, something along those lines. Needless to say, Jake and Hasim, they never fought. Though Hasim Rahman Jr., he has seen action since then.
He dropped a decision to defensive end turned boxer Greg Hardy. Hasim Rahman Jr. is coming off of 2 back-to-back losses, a decision loss to Greg Hardy and a knockout loss to Tommy Morrison's boy.
The late, great Tommy Morrison, the Duke, his boy, Mackenzie Morrison. It's not looking good for Hasim Rahman Jr., not at all. But he's not in the conversation anymore. He's not in the running for a Jake Paul fight. That ship has sailed, and next month,
Jake Paul's finally going to get to duke it out with Tommy Fury.
I didn't get to address it when the news broke, but I felt that Jake Paul's decision to move from Showtime over there to the PFL was a wise move, a wise decision. It seemed like he was losing steam boxing on that platform. Just a series of unfortunate events that did not lend itself to the profile of his fights.
It's a good thing that he got the hell out of there, because people aren't watching Showtime anywhere near as much as they used to. They're not the industry giant that they used to be anymore.
PFL's in bed with ESPN in America, and a fun tidbit is that abroad, outside of the United States, PFL is actually in bed with DAZN. DAZN, who's having a lot of success with their own brand of influencer fights. The Misfits Fight Series.
The illustrious L. Brook, Salt Poppy, KSI, all those good folks.
Change was necessary. Change was needed, because more and more you were hearing about the success of the Misfits Fight Series, and it started to feel like Jake Paul was just fading into the background, and I directly attribute that to the Showtime platform.
People don't know what they're doing over there.
Crossing over to the PFL was a good move, a smart move. His time at Showtime really just turned out to be a bunch of failed attempts to get certain fights over the line and serving up substitutes instead.
I guess the only question now is, does Jake Paul really have what it takes to beat Tommy Fury? And is Tommy Fury so serious a pugilist, so serious a prize fighter, that Jake's in over his head?
Because I've seen Tommy Fury, and I gotta tell you, that guy sucks.
Terrible.
Though even a guy who's terrible to a novice might seem like Sugar Ray Robinson.
Tommy Fury's never going to be able to live it down if he loses to this guy.
He's not. This quarrel between them feels like it's been going on for a little over a year, maybe close to 2.
Next month, they're going to sort it out. We'll talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
And just in keeping with the theme of influencer boxing, more or less, Robert Garcia expects that Ryan Garcia will be too much for Gervonta Davis.
It does seem like a lot of people are split on who's going to win this fight, Gervonta Davis via his big shots or Ryan Garcia via his fast punches.
Assuming it even happens, since bursting onto the scene and running through his competition, Robert has always revered Davis and his ability to end a fight in the blink of an eye. However, the renowned trainer saw a few alarming trends, several of which he believes Ryan will go on to capitalize on. Hector landed some punches on Tank, but I don't think he has the power, said Robert Garcia to 210 Boxing TV. I think Ryan has the fucking power. I think if Ryan lands, he will hurt Tank. Ryan, 24, has stated on countless occasions that he has no intentions of sitting back and engaging Davis in a boxing match. Instead, the loquacious contender claims that he'll march ahead and put Davis out of his misery in no more than 2 rounds.
That's a ballsy claim.
I want to say that there's more on the line here for Gervonta Davis than there is for Ryan Garcia. I want to say that because Gervonta is some years older than Ryan is, and he's further along in his career than Ryan is. Gervonta Davis has at least held a title before, down there at super featherweight. He held the IBF and WBA titles on separate occasions at that same weight. Losing to Gervonta won't hurt Ryan as much as Gervonta losing to Ryan would.
Because nobody considers Ryan Garcia a pound-for-pound fighter. The kid's never even been a champion before.
Not saying that I consider Gervonta Davis a pound-for-pound fighter or even one of the best fighters in the sport, but there are those out there that do. And if Ryan were to go in there and knock him out, seal the deal, well, there goes that fucking theory.
And there goes the neighborhood.
Robert Garcia. He's going against the grain. Although Davis figures to be the odds-on favorite heading in, considering the overall skill set of Ryan, Robert is willing to roll the dice and go with the underdog. I pick Garcia. He's too fast and too strong.
I think Bob Arum said something similar. I think he said Ryan's got more talent than Gervonta, and he picked him to win as well. That was a few weeks ago, and we talked about that here on the channel.
Very recently, Oscar De La Hoya set a Monday deadline to get the deal done. The deal between Ryan and Gervonta Davis, which was strange to say the least because the common practice, at least with the PBC, is to sign the contracts the week of the fight. The deal can be in place, but the actual contracts don't get signed until fight week. At least that's the story.
He set a Monday deadline. It's Tuesday.
Last we heard from Oscar was that he was going to be meeting up with Ryan today in order to finalize that deal. But
if the common practice is to wait until fight week to sign the contracts, what is it that Oscar's finalizing? All the terms have been, at least reportedly, already agreed to, and the deal, at least reportedly, is already in place.
Revelation left Showtime executive Stefan Espinoza befuddled and confused. Surely Oscar's been in this business long enough to know how this works, so the only way to interpret this is perhaps cold feet, trying to find a reason to pull Ryan out of this thing, and maybe that's what that is.
Maybe.
There is growing skepticism that the fight might not happen because it's supposed to be going down the same month as Thurman versus Spence. Two box office fights in that close proximity to each other, it's just not viable. Because of that, there's growing skepticism. They can't afford to play with people's emotions on this one because neither Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis are fighting the other who's who fighters at or around these weights. They've set their sights on each other while keeping busy with fighters.
The ends have to justify the means.
Neither one of you is fighting Devin Haney. Neither one of you is fighting Vasyl Lomachenko. The least you can do is make good on your word. Otherwise, all this talk, all these weeks, all these months, it's all been empty promises.
People have had enough.
It's been a full week since Gervonta Davis's fight with Hector Garcia. Still no word on what the buy rate was, though rumors have already started circulating that the buy rate for that fight was much less, much less than what he brought in opposite the ring Rolly Romero. Little over 200,000 buys?
Somewhere around there.
What that communicates is that people aren't going to put up with it anymore. The paying public, as it were, Gervonta Davis is paying public. It is shrinking.
It's if that inside intel checks out.
It really is a hit for the both of them, both Ryan and Gervonta, if this fight doesn't happen.